Games. Hi, my name is James, and this is James Loves Games. Today is lesson number 3 in our Japanese language series. Episode 1, we talked about hiragana. Episode 2, we talked about katakana. In this episode, I'm just going to briefly cover the basics of kanji. What are kanji? Well, it's kind of a long, complicated history, but I'll just give you the basic, condensed version. So a long time ago, Chinese culture was really popular among other Asian countries. And Japan had their own language and writing style and culture and everything, but the emperor and his court and everybody there, in a way to feel fancier and more sort of in touch with the trends of the day, they adopted a lot of writing and symbols and language from China. And so this is where you get kanji. And so you've got stuff like hiragana and katakana that Japanese came up with to express their own language. And they started introducing kanji into that and sort of mashing it together into this weird mixture of the three that can make it very confusing for new learners. And so I'll just going to give you a brief rundown of how kanji work, because there's far too many for me to teach on any video. I mean, there's tens of thousands of kanji, literally. I mean, I think in order to pass the Japanese language proficiency test level 1, you have to know like over 2,000 something. I mean, it's a ridiculous number. And there are a lot, and it's one of those things you just have to cram, but that's not why we're here right now. We're just going to learn the basics. So here we go. So I've written down a couple of different kanji here to use as an example. And so on this top row, I've got just the first 10 numbers written out in kanji, Japanese. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if you know hiragana and katakana, you know that you can actually write those out in hiragana or katakana. But in order to condense the amount of writing that a person does, they use kanji just to as shortcuts. And so instead of writing ichi in hiragana, you can just make a line and that's ichi. You can make 2 and that's ni. I kind of erase that. And so on and so forth. So they're pictograms. They are symbols that tell you an idea. And the interesting problem, I should say, for me in particular, when reading Japanese, is if there's a kanji I don't know, sometimes based on the little parts within the kanji, I can get the meaning out of it based on what I know about other kanji. And so these little segments within the kanji are called radicals. So, I mean, if you take this kanji right here, you've got this radical right here, this one right here, and this one right here. 3 different ones, all packed into one little symbol. Likewise, you've got this one. This is just one radical right here. Same thing down here. You've got 2 radicals, 3 radicals if you count the little roof over that. And so even kanji themselves are combinations of other symbols that they put together to represent an idea. And so sometimes it's possible to see a symbol and understand what the idea represents, but not know how to say it. And it can be very frustrating, especially when reading. You'll come across a kanji and you're like, that looks kind of like a car, but I don't know how to say it in my head. And so it kind of slows things down a little bit, but it's a lifelong pursuit learning Japanese, and kanji in particular. And so you've got to look at it as a long-term goal to learn as many kanji as you can. Now, when you're dealing with kanji, for the most part, there are certainly exceptions to any rules I say in these videos. I should say that right now. There's always going to be exceptions, but for the most part, most kanji have 2 different ways to read them. And so that means at least 2 different pronunciations for each kanji. The example that I have here is the kanji for kuruma, which means car. And so this reading of this kanji, kuruma, is the kunyomi, or the Japanese reading of the kanji. So you have a Japanese word, kuruma, that translates directly to car, and this symbol means kuruma. And so it's pretty simple and straightforward in that regard. But something interesting happens when you mix 2 different kanji together. You put them together to make a group, and how you pronounce the word changes. And so we have kuruma here. in here we have the kanji for fight and the kanji for car. And so this turns into sensha, which is Japanese for tank. So when you mix fight and car, you have a fighting car, a tank, sensha. And so instead of sen kuruma, the kuruma over here transforms into a combo kanji that is sha. So sensha. Here we have the kanji for electricity and car, which is densha, which is a train, an electric train. And down here at the bottom we have the same thing. You have the kanji for car and then the kanji for test or examination. So this is a vehicle inspection that you have to get. This is sha-ken. So for the kunyomi, the Japanese reading of this word is kuruma, and the other one is the onyomi, which is the Chinese, for lack of a better term, the Chinese pronunciation of the word. So we have kuruma, and if you put this kanji in a combo, it becomes sha. So we have sensha, densha, and shaken. Shaken. So it just goes to show how complicated learning kanji can be, but if you know these rules ahead of time, it's going to make the whole process much easier for you to wrap your head around. Because I know a lot of traditional learning methods. I learned Japanese in college, and so we had regular textbooks that had a particular format that we had to learn it in a particular order we had to learn things in. And it wasn't particularly helpful down the road. Now, a great way to give yourself a head start in learning kanji is to read the book Crazy for Kanji by Eve Kushner. I got this book several years after I started learning Japanese, and it connected so many dots that I had no idea about when I was actually studying this stuff in college, and it made everything make so much sense. So if you're dedicated to the idea of learning kanji and really understanding how they operate with each other and in the context of sentences and things like that, I highly recommend the book. I'll put a link for it in the description of the video. Now, we've talked about kanji and how they work with each other and in the context of a sentence and things like that. But there's one final thing that's really useful for new kanji learners and new Japanese learners in general is a lot of publishers will put little hiragana symbols over their kanji in printed materials. So, for example, if you are really into reading Japanese comics, manga, if you read, for the most part, if like Jump comics and other sort of more popular publishers that have different manga, they'll put little symbols above the kanji in the text of the comics called furigana. And this is a way for maybe kids who are reading the comics that haven't learned those kanji yet or probably don't know what those say yet, they'll be able to read the comic. And so this is a fantastic resource if you're new to Japanese and you want to dive into reading kids' novels or comic books or things like that. Most printed materials like books and things that are going to be aimed at teenagers or kids, they're going to have furigana for over most, if not all, of the kanji in the book, even really simple ones, just as a way for everybody, for it to be accessible to everybody. And that's really good. Don't abuse it, because I fell into the trap long ago of becoming dependent on the furigana and just completely skipping over the kanji and just reading this part every single time. And so it's a good resource if you don't know a kanji, but I wouldn't depend on it. You know, try to learn the kanji, and it'll make the whole process of reading that much more efficient and fast. But definitely check out Crazy for Kanji by Eve Kushner. It's a fantastic resource. And I seriously, I learned more about kanji from that book than several years of study at university. That's it for today. I hope you found all this information useful. Like I said, it's just a brief, condensed explanation of how kanji work. I certainly can't tell you what all the kanji are or say or how they're pronounced, because there's tens of thousands of them, and the memory card in my camera is not big enough to record all those. So that's not going to happen. But there's all kinds of guides on which kanji you should learn first. In fact, if you go to the, look up the Japanese language proficiency test, it's cut up into 5 different levels. And you can just look at level 5, the lowest, simplest level, and start from there and learn those kanji. Another great resource I've found is this little app you can get on your phone called Imiwa. And this one is it's a dictionary app for Japanese and English and several other languages as well, but mostly for Japanese and English. And so you can type in words to learn them that way, but they also have lists where you can learn kanji by radical, or you can learn kanji by JLPT level and things like that. So you can click JLPT level 5 and it'll show you all the different kanji you need to learn for level 5. And so it's a really useful resource. It's free. It's Imiwa. You can get it at probably every app store for every phone that exists at this point, because I've had it for several years and I use it probably every day. So get Imiwa, get Crazy for Kanji, and you'll be well on your way to mastering kanji before you know it. So thanks again for watching. Please like the video. Please subscribe for more lessons and more game videos. I'm James. Thanks for watching. Bye. And the kanji for a okay.